When you think of great beer scenes in movies, what comes to mind? For me, it's this. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Need more incentive to get your COVID vaccine? How about 10-cent beer? I'm in.
I'm in as well. From the Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia, Joe Sixpack, Glen Macnow, all new episode of What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Monco Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Download the app. By Visit Bucks County. We are open. Travel responsibly. Follow the Bucks County Ale Trail. Go to visitbuckscounty.com/ale trail to get your passport. By the Craft Beer Trail of Greater Philadelphia. 5 counties, 90-plus breweries, and 1,000-plus beers. And by CONSHY Brewing Company, now shipping beer to all of Pennsylvania at CONSHYExpress.com.
Hey, welcome to What's Brewing, along with Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow. We are at the Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia. I'm enjoying a hazy IPA, my jam, buddy.
Glenn, I am so happy to be here because they just put their double bock on tap.
Oh.
I've been railing about it all
You're
season.
elusive white whale.
Yes,
there you go. Good for you.
Beer.
But we are opening with another topic, which is wheat beers, which is our swap. We've never really discussed wheat beers on the show before. I got a local, a good one, Trogu's Unfiltered Dreamweaver that I'm gonna give you here. Let me pour you some of this. I'm gonna read you what they say over at Trogu's. Look at that, isn't that a beauty? That's a nice looking beer. Here's for you. Hopefully it's in the right glass. I don't know.
That's close enough.
Okay,
I mean, we're just
there you
tasting
go.
samples here.
What they say on the website, our dream begins with open top fermentation at high Krausen, and you're going to tell people what that means. A foamy, rocky yeast head crests the sides of the fermenter, releasing notes of black pepper and spicy clove. Unfiltered, obviously. Cloudy with yeast, slightly tart, downright refreshing.
So you said a lot of words there, Glenn, but I'll
Several which I don't know.
I'll talk about the main one that you mentioned, that's yeast.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat beer, at least this style of wheat beer, is always about the yeast. It's the flavors and the aromas that the yeast brings to the beer. And that's because wheat in itself, I mean, we're going to try a few other wheat beers here. It's not really a style, it's an ingredient.
Yeah. What'd you bring me?
Okay, so this beer here, by the way, Trogu's, is an outstanding beer. It's an American version of this one, which is a Hefeweizen beer. This is Weinstefener. Hefe is German.
After you have one or two of those, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it.
That's the idea. And I love this beer. This, to me, is about as close to a benchmark as you can get when you're talking about Hefeweiss. Hefe is the yeast. Weiss is the wheat. Or actually, it's, the white actually is Weiss. You'll see what a beautiful head on that thing. And it's intended to have that. This thing is going to have all kinds of banana aroma and clove.
Does clove,
spice.
definitely. I was about to say clove. Yeah, no question.
So I obviously poured way too aggressive on this. I'm going to have to let that settle. This beer, this is from the oldest brewery in the world, Weinstefener, and in Germany. And really, this beer is just outstanding. I highly recommend it out of the big bottles, by the way.
Okay, I like the bottles. Seasonal in any way? I mean, is this something that like I'm going to enjoy more in the spring and the summer than the winter?
I do think it's more of a summertime beer. It's actually, I happen to think that Hefeweizen is a breakfast beer, but that's another matter.
You are a 24-hour guy, yeah, no question about that. Wheat beer, I mean, not that different, or often considered as almost a lager. What's the difference here?
Well, actually, no. They sort of have that flavor of a lighter kind of bodied beer often, but actually they're brewed as an ale. They brew at a high temperature. We talked about the open fermentation of the trogs. Often they're brewed out in the open. You go to Germany and they have these what look to be like bathtubs of beer that are foaming over with exposed to the air, and that helps give the beer its character.
Okay, one of the other things I've noted with wheat beers, often flavors. We're here at Workhorse. They do a cranberry wheat, which I'm about to try. 5.0 ABV, so you can drink a few of these.
You'll also see
look at the color on this baby.
Sour, which is the Berliner Weiss. This is sort of like a northern German style of beer. So you can do a lot with the with wheat as a.
It's very refreshing. This is a Sunday afternoon beer to me.
Good.
I don't know about breakfast, but afternoon I may be going. Okay, so one of the most popular wheat beers is Blue Moon. Okay,
right.
Mass produced, and anytime you see it in a bar, it's got the slice of orange on it. Okay,
Right.
A bartender once told me the reason they like to do that is they then know what you're ordering. So if they come around and say, need another, they know what you got.
More importantly, it's when everybody else is in the place is looking at the beer and they, hey, I want that beer with the orange stuck in the top. I'll order that one. It's a great marketing tactic.
All right, real quickly, any other, you got a few in front of you, any others we should be looking for?
You know, it's hard not to mention wheat beer without mentioning Oberon from Bell's. It's become sort of a traditional early spring beer. And as I mentioned before, this Berliner Weiss, which is the northern German version of wheat beer.
Okay, coming up, we are going to talk about what he mentioned in the tease. If you need more incentive to get a COVID shot, what if they gave you a 10-cent beer? Well, you know what? I'm already in, but there you go. From the Workhorse Brewing Company, King of Prussia, Joe Sixpack, Glen Macnow, it's What's Brewing. It's time for spring seasonal beers and the easy drinking favorites at CONSHY Brewing Company. There's something for everyone, whether it's the Blood Money Blood Orange IPA, the crushable Ring the Bell Unfiltered Pilsner, Life Coach Session IPA, or my favorite, MC5, a hazy hop bomb bursting with juicy flavor and aroma. Look for these and more at your favorite local beer retailer or visit any CONSHY Brewing Company location where you'll find safe, comfortable indoor and outdoor seating. I'll see you there.
That's What's Brewing Beer Brew Down is sponsored by the Craft Beer Trail of Greater Philadelphia. 5 counties, 90-plus breweries, and 1,000-plus beers. Vote for your choices on Twitter at beer_radar, Real Glen Macnow, or What's Brewing PA.
Welcome back to What's Brewing. By the way, you can find us on Twitter at What's Brewing PA. He is at beer_radar. I am at Real Glen Macnow. Love when you give us feedback from the show. We are at the Workhorse Brewing Company. I'm going to enjoy this black lager while you get, well, what are you drinking?
I'll go the opposite way with the golden lager.
There you go. Here's to you. And you're going to give us the latest updates on our Field of 32 craft beer bracket.
This, well, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. I think this is the last of the Elite 8. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale versus Great Lakes Dortmunder. Both really fantastic beers, but it was a blowout. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, 75%.
More people had it.
I think it is, even though that Dortmunder...
It's been around a long time, and it's been national for a long time.
And in another matchup, and you know, this is in our old school area, and it pitted 2 beers that a lot of people told us they never even tasted any of them. Shiner Bock over Stevens Point Lager.
I've never had Stevens Point Lager, and I've tried a lot of beers. So.
Yeah, it's they've won pretty handily, 69% to 31%.
Okay. And we always appreciate people getting on. Again, we gave you our social media sites. We run these things every couple of days and invite you to join in. Okay, we teased it a couple of times. This is the new definition of a shot in a beer.
Really?
A brewery in Cleveland, Market Garden Brewery, good breweries in Cleveland, it's a good beer town.
It is.
Decided they wanted to add to people's incentive to get the shot, so they started offering, if you bring in your vaccine card, a 10-cent beer. I think it was the first 2,021 people. What do you think?
Well, you know, Cleveland has sort of a reputation for cheap beer. Wasn't there like
the 10-cent beer night
Yeah.
at the Indians game?
They must
Or
have
was
been
that the White Sox? No, it was the Indians.
Yeah, it must have been a playoff of that, but at any rate, I think it's a great idea. I've seen actually a number of breweries offering their spaces up for either testing or for vaccines. So, you know, cheers to Market Garden out there in Cleveland. Maybe a Philly area brewery would like to jump in on something like that.
Yeah, they got some blowback on it, as did, you know, there's a large national donut chain that's given it. It's like, hey, just get people any incentive to get it. A beer and a donut's not going to hurt them. Okay, and finally, the exploding beer cans is a thing in Australia. What is this nightmare?
Well, this is happening actually. The one we read about recently was in Australia, but it's been happening around the country where beers are exploding after they're being canned, and it's primarily because of the styles of beer that they're using that have sugar, unfermented sugar in the can after the canning, and it's under pressure, it continues to ferment and it explodes. And this is, you know, it's kind of funny. It's not a laughing matter though, because there have been injuries.
Not if it happens to you.
Yeah, I mean, these things, it's just serious stuff. I've seen pictures of people with bloody hands and also the exploded can. It looks pretty mean.
So the brewery in Australia, it was a recall, and the brewery in Australia put out something that said, customers may return the beer if it has not already been consumed.
This brewery was so wrong-headed.
Yeah.
I love their line. Unfortunately, some experiments do not lead to success.
Yeah, and that was fun. All right. Hey, listen, we love our partners at Montgo Makers. They're tremendous breweries all around Montgomery County. Joe Sixpack, you had the opportunity to talk with Rachel Riley of Montgo Makers. Here's that conversation.
Welcome, Rachel Riley from Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Bureau.
You got a good job, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So we're here at Workhorse Brewing, and we're going to talk a little bit about Montgo Makers and some of the great programs you've got going on. First of all, tell us about your app. It's been refreshed this year.
That's right. So a couple years ago, we came up with the Montgo Makers to tell the story of our more than 30 award-winning breweries, wineries, and distilleries like Workhorse Brewing here. And what we did was we created an app that folks could check in. They could learn about different events and things like that. So this year, when you download our app, which is free, you can find out all about our Montgo Makers like Workhorse Brewing and other breweries throughout the county. You can check in at those places, and the more you check in, you'll earn points that get you to different levels. Now, the names of the levels are staying the same for 2021, but this year, what you can do is check in the most that you possibly can in any month, and instead of earning rewards at each level, we're going to give out like gift cards and other things every month to those who check in the most. So you can go to different places, and you can learn about other things going on in the county to really round out your weekend, make it a whole trip.
Right, that's the thing I like about the app, is that you can come into Montgomery County and see what else is nearby and check out the whole scene that's going on right in the vicinity.
Absolutely. We also have a free app, the Visit Valley Forge app, that you can learn more about our destination. But with Montgo Makers, you can learn about not just the breweries, but also events happening. You can get deals, exclusive offers and things from some of the breweries, wineries, and distilleries. And you can learn about events happening because they are coming back to our area, thankfully, right? Just in time for the spring and summer. But there's so many things to do. You can go golfing. We have 50 courses here, 300,000 yards to play. We have 200 arts and culture venues. We have world-class shopping, and I'm not just talking about, of course, the iconic King of Prussia Mall. We've got so many downtowns, main streets, unique boutiques. There's so many different things to explore here, and of course, our history. So you really can make it a weekend destination, a little getaway for you, your couples, families, whoever you want to bring with you.
Sure. So many people think of the suburbs as this one big swath of subdivisions and such. You've got, in Montgomery County, a lot of downtown, very walkable areas. How many are there?
No, we actually have more than 60 towns in Montgomery County, and almost half of those have an actual physical main street. So since the fall and now in the spring, we've been encouraging folks to visit to Make It Main Street, because our normal hashtag is Make It Montgo, because there are so many small local businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19 and the pandemic, and we really want folks to just get out there and support them. Everything from local breweries located right on a main street to retail shops to bakeries, little small community theaters, all different kinds. Even our golf courses, some are, privately small family-owned places. So tons for folks to do to explore those main streets.
Right. What's Brewing has visited a number of those towns. We've been to Ambler and Lansdale, and I love the idea that so often breweries are the anchor for what's happening in those towns. How important are breweries and distilleries and wineries to tourism in Montgomery County?
Oh, they are extremely important. I mean, when you come, like you said, you go into a town like Ambler, like Skipback, even up into Pottstown, even in Ardmore, and you see a brewery like that, it's a reason to go visit there for couples, even families. A lot of our breweries are family friendly, but then you realize there's so many other things to do, so many stops along that main street. And it's not just about the geographic location. There's so many things to do when you explore those small towns that are so unique, and it just gives you this really cozy, quaint feeling to be in there, something you're not going to experience anywhere else, that you really can get right here in Montgomery County.
Well, Rachel, thank you very much. Check out that app from Monco Makers. And now back to you, Glenn.
That was great. Thank you, Rachel. And we really do appreciate our friends at Monco Makers. Check out all of the breweries coming up. We're going to talk about the best beer scenes in the history of movies. A lot to choose from. Joe Sixpack, Glen Macnow, Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia.
It's a place that inspires the dreamers, the overachievers. A place for those who follow the path, as well as the ones who blaze them. So whether you want to go with the flow or rise above it all, visit Bucks County and be inspired.
Welcome back to What's Brewing. We're at the Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia. A hazy apricot IPA is right up my alley, Joe Sixpack.
I'll go with the double IPA. This is a German-style brewery, but they nail a pretty good IPA as well.
All right, so I read recently about a movie that's about to be under production called The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Zac Efron, Russell Crowe, Bill Murray. That's a cast, huh?
Really?
And the movie centers on a book based on a real story, book called The Greatest Beer Run Ever Made. Guy named John Donahue, 1967, is drinking in a bar in New York City, and they're kind of honoring friends who died in Vietnam and talking about their friends who couldn't be with them because they're in the war. And he said, I got to go over there, see my friends, and bring them beer. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Everybody's trying to get out of going to Vietnam. He's going to go there to catch up with his friends.
Wow, that sounds like a cool idea.
The next day, he's on a cargo ship for Vietnam with a couple of cases of beer. I don't know what kind. It's 1967, so I imagine
Bud.
Yeah. By the way, he lands right during the Tet Offensive. Good timing, but he finds his friends. And that's the story. I can't wait to see this movie.
Sounds like a good one.
Got me thinking about great beer scenes in movies. There have been a few. Let's go back and forth. Give me one of your favorites.
Well, let's start with maybe the benchmark of beer movies, which would be Smokey and the Bandit. Talk about beer runs. This is about Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed with Sally Field transporting a tractor trailer full of Coors. From
Coors Banquet, yes.
From Texas to, I think it was Arkansas.
Yeah, somewhere down there.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Full with all kinds of crazy characters, including Sheriff Buford T. Justice, played by Jackie Gleason.
Oh, he was so great.
It's a good old boy Southern movie, but believe it or not, this movie, two things that are pretty amazing about this movie. One is that it was second in ticket sales that year that it came out in 1977, only to I don't know. Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible. Okay. And secondly, it is said that this is the favorite movie of film director Alfred Hitchcock.
Not anymore.
Last movie he ever saw.
Well, then that's why it was his favorite.
There you go.
Okay, I teased this one earlier, and everybody knows Jaws, and it's the great scene on the boat the night before they've seen the shark. The three of them are out there. Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, Robert Shaw, swapping stories. and Robert Shaw crushes the can to impress the other guys. It's a Narragansett. And by the way, Narragansett a couple of years later put out a beer in tribute to the movie called Crush It Like Quint, which I thought was hysterical. And to me, it's just, I love the three guys. They're looking at their scars. They're talking about women who broke their heart. They're drinking beer. Great scene.
It is a great scene. And I have to admit, I never saw it from start to finish until this past summer.
I can't believe you. I saw Jaws when it came out in the theater in 1975. I was a teenager, scared out of my mind in the theater. And it might be the movie I've seen more than any movie in my life. I've seen it 50 times. All right, what else you got?
All right, I'm going to go completely, really, with a depressing movie, but with a great bar scene.
Hold on, let me grab my apricot. Yeah.
The Deer Hunter from 1978
sure.
has an amazing bar scene just before the famous wedding in there involving Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken dancing with a pool cue. He dances in every movie, I think.
Yeah.
But they're dancing and shooting pool, drinking lots of Rolling Rock to Frankie Valli's You're Too Good
And
to
Rolling
Be True.
Rock is so perfect for
Yeah.
Deer Hunter, Western Pennsylvania country. All right, what else you got?
All right, well, I'm going to go completely the opposite direction here with possibly the ultimate beer movie of all time, which is Beer Barrel Polecat from those auteurs, those film auteurs, The Three Stooges.
Okay, all right, good.
This is a real basic movie about the Three Stooges, Larry Moe and Curly, making beer in a bathtub.
All right, good. We're out of time. I'll give you my last one. I don't even need to say the movie. I'll just say this. Now yous can't leave. There you go. Coming up, we're going to talk to Dan Hirschberg, CEO of this fine brewing establishment. It is the Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia. This is What's Brewing.
They're not just familiar faces, they're your friends and neighbors. It's their small businesses, a beating heart that makes a neighborhood a home, where personality is served on a plate and imagination paints a brighter world. A place where fresh is always in stock with a personal touch passed down through generations. Support small and make a big difference. Make it local. Make it Main Street. Make it Montco.
The Craft Beer Trail of Greater Philadelphia. 5 counties, over 90 breweries, and over 1,000 beers. Sip your way through it, one beer at a time.
Welcome back. Hey, last week, Joe Sixpack, we talked about new breweries opening. One was this Long Crowd Brewing Company out in Westchester, beer company in Westchester. And I got this week, and I just wanted to bring it up. This is their Quarterback Factory beer, which is a little bit of a jab at the Eagles, who've declared themselves a quarterback factory, with a picture of a guy in a jersey number 7 named Suddy, which is not that subtle, but I just thought this was so clever, I wanted to bring this up.
I love the local beers and the local fun that they're having, the jokes. Dan Hirschberg is with us. He is the Chief Brand Officer here at Workhorse Brewing in King of Prussia. Dan, welcome to What's Brewing.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We love your beers.
Thank you.
They're so well made. You're making, you started out making mostly German-style beers. You've branched out to a lot of different varieties. Tell me about this one. This is a non-German beer. This is the Belgian
Sure, the Belgian triple. Yeah, well, to your point, our brewmaster, Nate Olewine, has been in the industry for over a decade. So his kind of background is very much in that style, which is why we focus on them. The Belgian is one of our new seasonal releases. We've started to mix in some of those things, largely based actually on the feedback from guests. We always encourage people to tell us what we're missing, and I think the Belgian was one of the most highly requested styles from us, so we wanted to make sure we got that into the portfolio.
That's great to hear, because Belgians have fallen off a little bit, so it's nice to see you making that. What do you got there, Glenn?
I believe I got a Pilsner.
Yeah, I believe you do have the Pilsner, which I wish I had in mind too. I would have poured a second one had I known, but hey, you know.
Glenn swiped yours.
Okay, it's a nice crisp beer, really good. I know you guys have the draft truck. Tell everybody about that.
We do. So our primary distribution vehicle also doubles as probably the biggest hit at your party, whether you're doing that from a corporate standpoint or a personal standpoint. It's a fully refrigerated Mercedes Sprinter van, and it has 6 draft lines on the side. Yeah,
brilliant.
It's a nice thing to see out and about, and I have to say that the irony of it is that because the draft lines are about this short, it actually pours better beer than our tap system right behind us. So it's a real popular item when we head out and about.
It's a great idea.
I think we need that as the official vehicle of What's Brewing, frankly.
What about a road show? Have you guys considered that option yet?
That would be a good idea, I think. You've done so many different things here at Workhorse Brewing since the COVID virus has spread.
Sure.
You've been very agile in coming up with great ideas. I personally have come by here for curbside pickup any number of times. What else have you done to survive during COVID?
Yeah, well, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that we woke up, March 13th last year with a little bit of a fatalistic attitude, not sure exactly how things were going to progress. I mean, we built this 70,000 square foot facility with the vision of packing it with people all the time. So whether it was private events, whether it was large parties, losing that opportunity, I think was kind of a gut punch for us. But what we realized very quickly was that we had a very loyal team, especially in our tap room, that were interested in maintaining employment and decided that, hey, we can help grow an at-home delivery service. So that's been the biggest change for us, to be honest, is now we have a number of full-time drivers who are going out delivering beer within about a 13-mile radius of the brewery. We also cover the entirety of the Center City, Philadelphia area. And if you order beer by 3 p.m., it's guaranteed to show up the same day, which I have to say
is a good idea.
I think it's going to stick. I don't think it's something that we will eliminate. Yeah, I think it'll definitely be a big part of our model moving forward.
Almost as good as 45-minute pizza guarantee.
Nothing wrong with either of those.
Now, I know you guys have also gotten creative with food for people who are coming out here.
Yeah.
What are you doing in that regard?
So we were planning on opening a full-service restaurant as of April 2020, and obviously that was not in the cards with the pandemic, but we were able to kind of delay that date and get started in November. So we partnered with Pete's Famous Pizza out of Center City. They have a couple pizza locations as well as a Greek restaurant called Moustaki Gyros, and we love their food. They were great guys. They had this big kind of mobile kitchen that they had used to do some catering for off-site contractor jobs, and they said, hey, listen, we can solve your problem by bringing the truck here, parking it permanently. You don't have to worry about building a commercial kitchen, but it still allows for table service. So you don't actually go to the window to order food. You come to your table, a waiter or waitress will come to serve you. You can order from the QR codes, and now we have a full slate of taproom fare, from pizzas to cheesesteaks, and obviously we had to mix in some Greek food as well. So,
yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, one of the things that Glenn had mentioned, he was asking about the name of a beer. You guys tend to not name beers really weird
Correct.
names like Quarterback Factory.
Yeah.
They're very basic
They just say what the beer actually is,
Exactly.
which is
Yes.
unusual.
Well, we looked at, I think in entrepreneurship, we talk a lot about differentiation. And when we're trying to find ways for Workhorse to kind of stand out from the crowd, we looked at, essentially the kind of cooler space in any supermarket beer distributor, and you see 8,000 different styles and names, and it can be very overwhelming. So our goal was, how do we eliminate a barrier to entry? How do we make it a more kind of direct connection between the consumer and the brand? So we figured, hey, let's put the name on the beer of what's in the can. It sounds novel, but it's actually, it's a big hook for us. And I think the other thing too is, just from a logistics standpoint, there's 8,000 plus breweries operating, and the last thing we would want to find out is that there's a beer name that we want to use that's already in existence, and we'd have to pull that.
right.
All right, so as we close, people want to come out to Workhorse,
Yeah.
give us your hours here.
Sure, so we're open 7 days a week. On the weekends, we open at noon. We open during the week at 3 p.m. Hopefully we'll be opening for lunch service at some point in 2021 as well. And you can always order beer at shop.workhorsebrewing.com, whether it's contactless pickup, direct-to-consumer shipping via UPS, or at-home delivery service.
Beautiful. Van Hirschberg, thanks so much for having
Thanks for your
us
time,
today.
guys.
Workhorse Brewing Company, one of the great Monco maker beers. Joe Sixpack, Glen Macnow. We look forward to seeing you next week on What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Monco Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Download the app. By Visit Bucks County. We are open. Travel responsibly. Follow the Bucks County Ale Trail. Go to visitbuckscounty.com/ale trail to get your passport. By the Craft Beer Trail of Greater Philadelphia, 5 counties, 90 plus breweries, and 1,000 plus beers. And by CONSHY Brewing Company, now shipping beer to all of Pennsylvania at CONSHYExpress.com.